DC Comics, Marvel, Image, Valiant, Charlton. And of course, we have Superman, Batman, The Amazing Spider-Man, Watchmen. I love that one. Astro City. So it's just everywhere. Of course, Flash. You have Flash. You got Thor. You have them all now. And beginning with the introduction of Superman in 1938 in Action Comics, an anthology of adventure features, comic books devoted to superheroes, ballooned into a widespread genre, coincident with the beginnings of World War II and at the end of the Great Depression. So, there you go. And when did comic books become popular? Well, I'm going to tell you that too. That's why you're here, right? Captain Marvel proved to be one of the most popular superhero comics of the Golden Age, outselling the Adventures of Superman during the 1940s. The sales of comic books increased during World War II. They were cheap, portable, and had inspirational, patriotic stories of good triumphing over evil. Yes. And that hasn't changed. Look at Iron Man. Love Iron Man. Okay. Which was the first daily comic strip published in the United States? The Yellow Kid. And that was in the late 19th century. So, interesting. And what is the longest running newspaper comic strip? Oh, I remember Hobbs. Remember Cyanide and Happiness. You had Family Circus. You had, what are some of the other ones? Of course, Peanuts. Anyway, the longest running newspaper comic strip. The answer would be the Katzenjammer Kids, which has been running since 1897. Created by Rudolph Dirks, it is also the first comic strip ever to tell a story using a series of panels. The strip's publisher, Hearst, handed it over to Harold H. Nair when Dirks took a leave of absence. So, remember Beetle Bailey? Beetle Bailey's another one. I remember Beetle Bailey. Oh my God. Wow. Beetle Bailey, you gotta love it. And some of the other comic books that I read, of course, Marmaduke was in there, the comics on Sundays. Peanuts, of course. Beetle Bailey, oh my gosh, Beetle Bailey. You gotta love him. He was a trip, wasn't he? So, let's see. What are some of the other comics that I read? Little Lulu. The comic books. Hot Stuff. Wendy. Casper. Hot Stuff. Remember the little devil Hot Stuff. The Archies, of course. Do you know all the Archies' names? You have Archie, Jughead. Who else? Who else was there in the Archies? Valerie, do you know who else was in there? Action Comics. Oh, loved Action Comics. Of course, you had Batman. Captain Marvel, Detective Comics. Okay, who else was in there? Veronica, yeah. Okay, Betty, Archie, Jughead. And who was do you remember who the football player was? Remember him? Blonde head dude. Come on, you can do it. Moose. Remember Moose? Gotta love the Archies, and of course their songs. They became, yeah, I know. The only reason I know is because I did the research on it. So, some of the other comic books you might know: Adventures of Mighty Mouse, The Avengers, of course, um, They had Crime Suspense Story. Blondie comics. Remember Blondie? Oh, I love Blondie. He was so weird. His Dagwood sandwiches. Daffy Duck, of course. Bugs Bunny. Comics. He also had Wonder Woman, of course. Who else? Casper. We all love Casper, the friendly ghost. And that brings me Daffy Duck, of course. How about Richie Rich? You remember Richie Rich? Gotta love Richie Rich. And how about Chip and Dale? Chip and Dale was another one. Wendy the Good Witch. Love that. Little Dot. Playful Little Audrey. And I remember all these because Mom used to bring them home. A pile of them. It was great. Well, yeah, Roadrunner. Yeah. Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge. Okay. How about those? My dad loved those ones. Little Lulu, of course, I said. Hot Stuff. Lois Lane. Flash Gordon. Oh, yeah. Gotta love it. Let's see. Tough Ghosts. Starring Spooky. Remember Tough Ghosts? I remember those. Mom used to bring them home. Used to hide in my room and read them all. Little Lulu. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I just remember the comic book. Tweety and Sylvester, of course. Tales from the Crypt was a comic book form. Mighty Mouse. I loved Richie Rich. I did. I thought he was great. Elmer Fudd. Little Lotta was one. I kind of remember that, not too much. Popeye. Remember Popeye comics? Who else was in the comic strips, though? You had all those. Those were great on Sundays. We used to fight over them. Yeah, the hot stuff was Devil Kids, hot stuff. Huey, Dewey, and Louie, of course. Dagwood. Chilly Willy. I remember Chilly Willy. But Wendy the Good Witch. She had her own. Johnny Quest. Wow. Loved them all. Those were great, great comics. And so those are just some of them that I remember. I was getting there. Will you relax? I was getting to that. I wanted to get the comic books out of the way. We're going to be talking about Mad Magazine. Who didn't love Mad Magazine? Well, that was more of a cartoon. Scooby-Doo was. What happened to them? Who is drawing them now? I think they're on crack. Have you seen the new Scooby-Doos? What is with their faces? I don't know who's doing this, but really? It's like, wow. Give me the old ones. Yeah, Uncle Grandpa. What the hell is Uncle Grandpa? I'm sorry. Like I said, I think, I think kids are confused enough. We don't need that, Uncle Grandpa, really. Gumball? The Adventures of Gumball. What the hell is Gumball? I don't understand. Put back on, your original Bugs Bunny Roadrunner, Tweety and Sylvester. They do have the mysteries, and they do have the new Scooby-Doos, but the new Scooby-Doos, wow. What's a West Virginia thing? I'm going to go over some of the Sunday comics, but that was a lot of the comic books that, I enjoyed reading growing up. If you didn't read comic books, you're missing out. They are so awesome. Some of the most popular comic strips on Sunday were, of course, Beetle Bailey. Gotta love Beetle Bailey. Um, Hagar the Horrible. Remember Hagar the Uncle Grandpa? Yeah, what the hell is Uncle Grandpa? Really? Hagar the Horrible. Oh, I loved Hagar. He's great. Um, it's just awesome. How about 22 BC? Love 22 BC. Um, it's just great. Garfield, of course. Garfield. Who doesn't love Garfield and lasagna? Come on. Um, Pluggers. That was a well-known Sunday comic. Dick Tracy. Ooh, love Dick Tracy. Had to find out what happened next. Um, some of them I've never hit. Mother Goose and Grimm. Oh, love Mother Goose and Grimm. I love it. I love the dry humor. I love dry humor. I think it's hilarious. Non sequitur. It's just great. Um, it's just suitably weird. It really is. It's not politically correct. Dilbert. Dilbert was a popular one. I love Dilbert. They were great. Um, some of them I'm like, okay. The Boondocks. That was pretty popular. Pogo. Gotta love Pogo. Um, what was another one? Doonesbury. Remember Doonesbury? That was great. All about life. It was great. And Gerald Ford himself, who was often a target in the comic strip, said, "There are only three major vehicles to keep us informed as to what is going on in Washington. The electronic media, the print media, and Doonesbury. Not necessarily in that order. Gotta love it. Bloom County, Opus. That was another good one. I love the dry humor. I really do. Really? You should hear some of them that I haven't mentioned. I have not heard of them. Peanuts, of course. Doonesbury was always a good one. The Far Side. Who didn't love The Far Side? Um, that Far Side. It's humor. I love it. Calvin and Hobbes. That was another one. These are the popular comics that were popular. Comic strips in the Sunday paper. Um, like I said, a lot of them were great. Blondie and Dagwood was in the comics. So lots and lots of good stuff. Um, a good show to watch is Comic Book Men. If you haven't seen it, it's usually on after The Walking Dead and um, The Talking Dead with Chris Hardwick. It's usually on after that. Comic Book Man. I love that show because they have such the vintage comics. So they're really really good. So those were some of the most popular Sunday comic strips. So when we come back, I'm going to take a break here. When we come back, I'm going to discuss Mad Magazine. And then we're going to kind of get into more Saturday cartoons because I think they're ridiculous. But that's me. It's like, what the? I don't get it. Okay, so we'll be right back. Give me your opinions of Saturday morning cartoons. See what you think. And we're going to talk Mad Magazine. Okay, and we'll be right back.
Are you worried about impending doom? Those evil villains got you filled with gloom. But don't you fear, there's a hero in the sky, the sky.
He's still a work in progress.
It's not a